Hus. So, hey guys, if you've just started to drink green tea and you want to know more, or the only green tea you're accustomed to drinking and knowing about is the supermarket green tea, well, let me tell you, there's so much more and you just scratch the surface. What if I tell you that green tea can just be much more flavorful than the one you've been drinking? Or it can be a source of great health, mindful rituals, and also some inspiration for life philosophy or design inspiration. Now, welcome to this video where we'll be covering the basics of Japanese green tea for beginners. And let's start, however, taking one step back and exploring the green tea you may be accustomed to, the general supermarket green. Now, the overall misconception surrounding green tea is that it's all the same. Well, green tea is just actually a macro category like coffee. And there's so many different types of coffee like espresso, cappuccino, mocha, drip coffee, and you name it. So, like coffee, green tea has so many subcategories and so many different branches of the family. And the main branch we're going to focus on today is the Japanese green tea brand and how this family of green tea can offer you a whole new world. To kick it off, we're going to just do a quick product comparison of what a standard green tea from the supermarket looks like compared to a selection of Japanese green teas authentically imported and produced in Japan. Now, if we take the tea bag, here it is. It's the tea bag. But we want to look at the specific products. So what's in this tea bag? Now, if we look at it, this is what's in the tea bag. And if this is just a simple tea you're accustomed to, you'll be thinking, yeah, it's just normal tea. However, things change when I bring you this Japanese green tea, and specifically Matcha, Sencha, and Gyokuro. Now, as you can see, just by comparing quickly the product in itself, you can sense that the standard supermarket green tea is actually not green. It's brown. So as a basis, it's already off. The tea is different. The leaves are much more powdery. It's dusty. And actually, if you look at the loose leaf teas of the Japanese green tea, which are Sencha and Gyokuro, you'll see that it has a completely different texture and they're rolled fresh tea leaves. And matcha, of course, is in powder and it's a completely different consistency. Now that we have that covered, let's go a little bit deeper into these three types of green teas, beginning with probably the one you're most familiar with, matcha. Matcha right now is probably the most popular Japanese green tea at the moment. And because of that, probably one of the most misunderstood. If you're familiar with it already, you'll probably know it through the forms of matcha lattes, frappuccinos, matcha cappuccinos, or smoothies, and all these mixed varied product definitions. However, matcha is actually probably one of the most rich and complex green tea products in the Japanese green tea family. Mainly because, if you don't know already, matcha is probably the main star around the famous Japanese tea ceremony. And fun fact, the real ceremonial matcha is not actually commercialized. If they did commercialize the prestigiously high quality matcha used in the tea ceremonies, I've talked to my business partner who's a tea master, and he said this small can of 30 grams of matcha would end up costing you over 100 euros each. So we use the term ceremonial just as a reference to say it's a really high grade, but it's not actually the tea used in ceremonies. So why is matcha so prestigious? Mainly because it starts from its cultivation, which it needs to be shaded 3 weeks before it gets cultivated. So the nutrients are dense and are supercharged. And then after it's been steamed and dried, it gets stone mill grind, which is an incredibly slow process. And the output is very low in terms of time. Therefore, high quality matcha requires a lot of time to make and a lot of care, thus its prestige and cost. However, matcha has become popular because of its incredible versatility. Even though it's a very rich product, or it can be rich if you look for the high quality matchas, it's a very easy to use ingredient and can be thrown into desserts. You can shake it into a water bottle and you'll have a sort of drink. It can be quickly whisked. So that's probably why it became famous and it caught up pretty quickly. Compared to the loose leaf green teas, which I'll show you, have a little bit more of a process to it. So now that we've covered the basics of this first green tea, I'm just going to show you how to prepare a standard cup of matcha. So, this is how you prepare a cup of matcha. I'll be making another detailed video in the future specifically to the different preparations of these teas, so don't worry, you'll find that in a future video. But for now, let's move on to the next tea, which is actually Japan's most popular tea. Sencha is actually the hidden powerhouse of the Japanese green tea family because it's actually the most popular and common type of tea in Japan. It is so common that if you go to a traditional Japanese restaurant, very likely they'll offer you, together with the complimentary water, a complimentary cup of sencha alongside with it. In the modern day, because of these traditional restaurants becoming less and less common, and sencha has still been used of a lower quality level, but in a more industrial form, in these bottled drinks. These have been everywhere. If you go to whatever supermarket in Japan, these will be available. Compared to matcha, sencha is produced in a much more common way where no shadings required. It just gets cultivated straight in open air, just gets steamed, it gets rolled, then according to different producers, it will get blended to achieve a certain type of flavor, get lightly roasted in the end, and then it will be ready for you to drink. It has a much different type of preparation, which we believe to the common, everyday, average person, it ends up being much more ritualistic than maybe matcha. Although matcha has that whisking part to it, which is very beautiful. But now that we'll show you a standard preparation for the sencha green tea, you'll understand that there are different elements to it, which make it actually more of an everyday tea ceremony to you. Actually, probably more than a matcha preparation would. Obviously, something we will cover in a future green tea preparation video, sencha also has more simpler ways of being enjoyed, such as cold-infused green tea, which is just very simple. Put it in a filter bottle, move it around a couple of times, and then be ready. But this is the standard preparation. And here is a cup of sencha. However, as an added bonus, if we want to go much richer and much higher in terms of flavor of loose leaf green tea, let me show you one more small gem called Gyokuro. Now, Gyokuro is probably one of Japan's most prized loose leaf green teas, mainly stemming from the cultivation, which is very similar to matcha, where it gets shaded 3 weeks, exactly the same as matcha before cultivation. Then it gets steamed and it will get rolled, which is the only differentiating factor from the matcha tea leaves and the Gyokuro tea leaves in terms of preparation. The Gyokuro will also get blended according to the producer's preferences, tastes, and flavor profiles, slightly roasted, and then it'll be ready in those small, needle green teas for you to taste. The general overall key with prized Japanese green tea is that in terms of loose leaf green tea, the higher the quality, the lower the brewing temperature. Sencha will operate usually around 60 to 80 degrees max of brewing temperature. Gyokuro is ideally maxed out at 50, maybe 60 degrees in terms of temperature. But today, we're going to show you the type of preparation we do at our tastings, which really creates an extract of flavor of high umami, which for us represents the maximum flavor you can get out of this leaf green tea. In this specific case, because Gyokuro is brewed at room temperature, it's going to take a little bit more time than usual. I find this a nice moment where we can chat and have a nice conversation with whoever's around us and whoever we're preparing the tea for. So, what better moment than to have a quick chat of the teas we've seen so far? Obviously, the flavor profiles are one great added value when switching from a standard green tea to a Japanese green tea. You'll be having a better experience and you'll be able to explore the different types of flavors that the different producers tend to make, a little bit like wine. But the great added value, which is what is making the matcha craze so big in the US right now, is the health benefits. Because of low and contained caffeine, which is balanced by the L-theanine, which is another component which helps relaxation and stabilizes the focus and doesn't make it peaky like a coffee and give you all that jittery experience, and the catechins and the antioxidants, which help brain function, body recovery, digestion, and so many other aspects, with probably no apparent downsides to this drink other than the fact that it may not be advised to people who have specific health conditions. So please advise a doctor if you fall into that category. And this is just the beverage benefits, because we still haven't covered briefly the other benefits that go beyond the beverage that come with Japanese green tea. Now, just to wrap this up and move on to showcasing you how this extract comes out, if you want the best benefits and maximize the effects of Japanese green tea, obviously, you may have arrived to this conclusion yourself. The recommended tea is matcha because, as you've noticed from the preparations I've made, matcha, you actually end up drinking the whole leaf, while Sencha and Gyokuro, you'll be drinking infused productions of the leaves. It doesn't mean you're not getting the health benefits. It just means that with matcha, you're getting much more of them. Now, let's see how the Gyokuro turns out. And this is Gyokuro. So now that we've covered the general base of Japanese green tea, let's get a little bit personal, because this is what brought me so close to Japanese green tea. Initially, I was like probably most of you. The green tea I knew was this. And honestly, I was not. But then once I met Ikeda-san, who showed me the whole world of Japanese green tea, made me taste this tea, showed me the whole world behind it. And then I started studying it and discovering all of the heritage it has. It just blew my mind, because it's not just tea. And of course, it has great flavor and a great taste to it. But Japanese green tea is so much more. It's a word that stuck out to me the most, and probably I've used a lot in this video, is ritual. The ritual for me is a predetermined set of actions which one executes to achieve a certain goal or a certain feeling. The rituals in Japan in general, but in the Japanese green tea, are so many, and they achieve so many beautiful results, like mindfulness, like presence. It gives you a break out of the chaotic world we live in today. Therefore, I think Japanese green tea kind of surpasses the general misconception there is about tea, which is slow, it's complicated, it can only be consumed warm. It's mainly just about intention and rituals. And the thing about rituals is you can create your own. So maybe you're preparing for a sporting event, and so you can have your matcha ritual a certain number of hours before that event happens. Maybe you're preparing for a meeting or a study session, or you want to go out with friends and you want to enjoy a cup of tea. You can all create different rituals that suits you the best, that suits the moment, so with this beautiful beverage, and enjoy it together. And that's one great magic of this green tea. The other incredible, beautiful aspect is that these philosophies have also developed and contaminated the design world as well because of aesthetic principles like wabi-sabi, appreciating the seasonality of things. And if you look at the objects and the tools that we use when preparing teas, they're beautiful. It just doesn't always have to be the calm, meditative, very quiet imaginary that maybe people have of Japanese green tea. That is obviously a great plus, and it's the quickest and easiest to reach out of all because this is where Japanese green tea arrives from. But together with Sencha House, we believe that we can develop and create and inspire people to kind of pick and choose their own ritual and acquire their own intentional results. Now, it doesn't have to be through our tea. It doesn't have to be through these specific Japanese green teas at all. But the invitation I extend to you is, if you haven't, give it a try, but an intentional try. Choose a tea of your liking, study its basic preparation, integrate it to the moment you might be needing the most in life, whether maybe a pause from work or the morning after you wake up, or the evenings to relax from a stressful day. And let me know how it goes. Might be for you, might not be for you. And if you have already integrated and are experienced Japanese green tea in your life, let me know in the comments how it's affecting your life positively or negatively, because I'm interested to find them. Thank you very much, and see you at the next one.